Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It is a very special text. This is one of four texts that summarize the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 34. We're very fortunate to have His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu to give a class. Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to
Hare
Sri
Krishna
Prabhupada.
Prabhu, welcome back.
I'm not 100%, but I'll try because I'll see us doing the other one for Chanamali Swami. So
Nice.
I had to
Good to
jump
see,
on in.
very good to see you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. It's all yours.
Okay. I'm just going to chant the just the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just my voice is in and out, so I'm saving as much as I can. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, second canto, chapter 9, text 34. As Parikshit Prabhu pointed out, is one of the four main verses of the Bhagavatam, Chatur Shloki. Rthaṁ yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ rthaṁ yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ rthaṁ yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ. Next.
Vidyād yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
rthaṁ yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Word for word. Rite, without. Rthaṁ, value. Yat, that which. Pratīyeta, appears to be. Na, not. Pratīyeta, appears to be. Cha, and. Ātmani, in relation to me. Tat, that. Vidyād, you must know. Ātmana, my. Māyāṁ, illusory energy. Yathā, just as. Ābhāsa, the reflection. Yathā, as. Tamaḥ, the darkness. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Brahmā, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Report. This is quite lengthy purport, but I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we can go back and discuss. In the previous verse, it has already been concluded that in any stage of the cosmic manifestation, its appearance, its sustenance, its growth, its interactions of different energies, its deterioration and its disappearance, all has its basic relation with the existence of the personality of Godhead. And as such, whenever there is forgetfulness of this prime relation with the Lord, and whenever things are accepted as real without being related to the Lord, that conception is called a product of the illusory energy of the Lord, because nothing can exist without the Lord. It should be known that the illusory energy is also an energy of the Lord. The right conclusion of dovetailing everything in relation with the Lord is called Yoga Maya, or the energy of union, and the wrong conception of detaching a thing from its relationship with the Lord is called the Lord's Daivi Maya, or Mahamaya. Both the Mayas also have connections with the Lord because nothing can exist without being related to Him. As such, the wrong conception of detaching relationships from the Lord is not false, but illusory. Misconceiving one thing for another thing is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. The rope, as it is, exists in the front of the illusion person, is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And this illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being produced out of my energy is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless or that the Supreme Lord is formless is also illusion. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:12, it was said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warriors standing in front of Arjuna himself, and even the Lord had all existed before. They were existing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would all continue to be individual personalities in the future also, even after the annihilation of the present body, and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities. And the personal features of both the Lord and living beings are never abolished, only the influence of the illusory energy. The reflection of light in the darkness can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahma Jyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord. And the same light is reflected in varieties of light. The light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, or the light of electricity. So the identity of the self as being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am the Supreme, is the last illusory snare of the same Maya, or the external energy of the Lord. The Vedanta Sutra in the very beginning affirms that everything is born from the Supreme. And thus, as explained in the previous verse, all individual living entities are born from the energy of the Supreme Living Being, the personality of Godhead. Brahmā himself was born from the energy of the Lord, and all other living entities are born from the energy of the Lord through the agency of Brahmā. None of them has any existence without being dovetailed with the Supreme Lord. The independence of the individual living entity is not real independence, but is just a reflection of the real independence existing in the Supreme Being, the Lord. The false claim of supreme independence by the conditioned souls is illusion, and this illusion is admitted in this verse. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge become illusioned, and therefore the so-called scientists, psychologists, physiologists, empiric philosophers, etc., become dazzled by the glaring reflection of the sun, moon, electricity, etc., and deny the existence of the Supreme Lord, putting forward theories and different speculations about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of everything material. The medical practitioner may deny the existence of the soul and the physiological bodily construction of an individual person, but he cannot give life to a dead body, even though all the mechanisms of the body exist even after death. The psychologist makes a serious study of the physiological conditions of the brain, as if the construction of the cerebral lump were the machine of the functioning mind. But in the dead body, the psychologist cannot bring back the function of the mind. These scientific studies of the cosmic manifestation or the bodily construction independent of the Supreme Lord are different reflective intellectual gymnastics only. But at the end, they are all illusion and nothing more. All such advancement of science and knowledge in the present context of material civilization is but an action of the covering influence of the illusory energy. The illusory energy has two phases of existence, namely the covering influence and the throwing influence. By the throwing influence, the illusory energy throws the living entities into the darkness of ignorance. And by the covering influence, she covers the eyes of men with a poor fund of knowledge about the existence of the Supreme Person, who enlightened the Supreme Individual Living Being, Brahmā. The identity of Brahmā with the Supreme Lord is never claimed herein. And therefore, such a foolish claim by the man with a poor fund of knowledge is another display of the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 16, chapter 18 to 20, that demoniac persons who deny the existence of the Lord are thrown more and more into the darkness of ignorance. And thus such demoniac persons transmigrate life after life without any knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sane man, however, is enlightened in the disciplic succession from Brahmāji, who was personally instructed by the Lord, or in the disciplic succession from Arjuna, who was personally instructed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. He accepts this statement of the Lord, aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajate mam buddhabhava samamvitaha. The Lord is the original, that's Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, text 8. The Lord is the original source of all emanations, and everything that is created, maintained, and annihilated exists by the energy of the Lord. The sane man who knows this is actually learned. Therefore, he becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Although the reflectory energy of the Lord displays various illusions to the eyes of persons with a poor fund of knowledge, the sane person knows clearly that the Lord can act even from far, far beyond our vision by his different energies, just as fire can diffuse heat and light from a distant place. In the medical science of the ancient sages known as Ayurveda, there is definite acceptance of the Lord's supremacy in the following words. Jagat yonir nichasya chid anandaka rupina pumshosti prakritir nitya pratīyeta bhasvata cetanapi cetanya yogena paramatmana akarod vishvam akilam anityam nataka kritim. There's one Supreme Person who is the progenitor of this cosmic manifestation and whose energy acts as prakriti, or the material nature, dazzling like a reflection. By such illusory action of prakriti, even dead matter is caused to move by the cooperation of living energy of the Lord. And the material world appears like a dramatic performance to the ignorant eyes. The ignorant person, therefore, may even be a scientist or physiologist in the drama of prakriti, while the sane person knows prakriti as the illusory energy of the Lord. By such a conclusion, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, it is clear that the living entities are also a display of the Lord's superior energy, para prakriti, just as the material world is a display of the Lord's inferior energy, apara prakriti. The superior energy of the Lord cannot be as good as the Lord, although there is very little difference between the energy and the possessor of the energy, or the fire and the heat. Fire is possessed of heat, but heat is not fire. This simple thing is not understood by the man with a poor fund of knowledge, who falsely claims that the fire and heat are the same. This energy of the fire, namely heat, is explained here as a reflection and not directly fire. Therefore, the living energy represented by the living entities is the reflection of the Lord and never the Lord himself. Being the reflection of the Lord, the existence of the living entity is dependent on the Supreme Lord, who is the original light. This material energy may be compared to darkness, as actually it is darkness. And the activities of the living entities in the darkness are reflections of the original light. The Lord should be understood by the Lord should be understood by the context of this verse. Non-dependence of both the energies of the Lord is explained as Maya or illusion. No one can make a solution of the darkness of ignorance simply by the reflection of light. Similarly, no one can come out of material existence simply by the reflected light of the common man. One has to receive the light from the original light itself. The reflection of sunlight in the darkness is unable to drive out the darkness, but the sunlight outside the reflection can drive out the darkness completely. In darkness, no one can see the things in a room. Therefore, a person in the dark is afraid of snakes and scorpions, although there may not be such things, but in the light, the things in the room can be clearly seen, and the fear of snakes and scorpions is at once removed. Therefore, one has to take shelter of the light of the Lord, as in the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam, and not the reflective personalities who have no touch with the Lord. No one should hear Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from a person who does not believe in the existence of the Lord. Such a person is already doomed, and any association with such a doomed person makes the associator also doomed. According to the Padma Purana, within the material compass, there are innumerable material universes, and all of them are full of darkness. Any living being, beginning from the Brahmas, there are innumerable Brahmas in innumerable universes, to the insignificant ant, are all born in darkness, and they require factual light from the Lord to see him directly. Just as the sun can be seen only by the direct light of the sun, no lamp or man-made torchlight, however powerful it may be, can help one see the sun. The sun reveals itself. Therefore, the action of different energies of the Lord or the personality of Godhead himself can be realized by the light manifested by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The impersonalists say that God cannot be seen. God can be seen by the light of God and not by man-made speculations. Here, this light is specifically mentioned as vidyād, which is an order by the Lord to Brahmā. This direct order of the Lord is a manifestation of his internal energy. And this particular energy is the means of seeing the Lord face to face. Not only Brahmā, but anyone who may be graced by the Lord to see such merciful, direct internal energy can also realize the personality of Godhead without any mental speculation. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjanansalakaya Chaktu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. There's a lot in this purport, and I'll try to extract a few points that we can think about. There's quite a bit of mention about darkness and light, so that definitely reminds me of this verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22:31. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar. Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayara Adhikar. Translation: Krishna is compared to sunshine, and Maya is compared to darkness. Wherever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon as one takes the Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion, the influence of the external energy, will immediately vanquish. Vanish, will immediately vanish. And then Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is interesting, is the verse that we're reading today. So Prabhupada is quoting. In Srimad Bhagavatam 2.9.34, it is stated, rthaṁ yat pratīyeta na pratīyeta cātmani, tad vidyād ātmano māyāṁ, yathābhāso yathā tamaḥ. What appears to be truth without me is certainly my illusory energy, for nothing can exist without me. It is like a reflection of a real light in the shadows. For in the light, there is neither shadows nor reflections. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. When a living entity becomes Krishna conscious, he's immediately relieved of all material lusty desires. Lusty desires are greed associated with rajas and tamas, passion and darkness. When one becomes Krishna conscious, the modes of passion and darkness immediately vanish. And then the mode of goodness, sattva guna, remains. When one is situated in the mode of goodness, he can make spiritual advancement and understand things clearly. This position is not possible for everyone. When a person is Krishna conscious, he continuously hears about Krishna, thinks about Krishna or about him, worships him, and serves him as a devotee. If he remains in Krishna consciousness in this way, the darkness of Maya certainly will not be able to touch him. Again, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 31. So this idea of darkness, living entity being covered by darkness, and then the resolution or solution of that being Krishna consciousness, thinking of Krishna, should be a source of encouragement for all of us, that the process is very simple. The more we think about Krishna, the less we think of Maya. So we complain sometimes. Maya is giving me so much trouble. I'm distracted by this, distracted by that, so many things. But in reality, it's our own fault, because thinking of Krishna is the solution. How difficult is that? Well, if we're being honest, it's quite difficult. If you calculate or estimate how many times during the day you actually think of Krishna. Now, we have some aids and assistants. For instance, we have these beautiful posters and paintings of Krishna. We have deities, so many things that can remind us. But sometimes we're out and about in the world, either work or school or whatever, just going out shopping. So how, or is it possible in the midst of so many distractions that are causing us pain, obviously, is it possible that we can remember Krishna in the midst of all of that? Yes. The answer is a resounding yes. Just like Arjuna in the Battle of Kurukshetra. 640 million men, there were no women in the battle. 640 million men had to die. And Arjuna had to be part of that. It was not his desire, it was not his plan, but it was his duty, his dharma, his responsibility. But he was faced with emotional stress to the point that he felt he couldn't do his duty. And this is something that we can all relate to, that we get distracted by so many things. But by the grace of Krishna, he was brought to his right consciousness. And Krishna basically told him that you can fight and you can think of me simultaneously. In the mundane world, they say you can walk and chew gum. You should be able to do that, do two things at once. So we should be able to think of Krishna throughout the day, because Krishna is saying to us, Satatam kirtayantu mam, always kirtayan, always chant my glories. Mamanad bhavamad bhakta, always think of me. He's saying that. So that means it's possible. If Krishna is saying it, that means that it's possible. The problem again is us. It's like sometimes they say practice makes perfect. Not exactly. Practice in another way makes permanent. The more you practice, the more it becomes part of your thinking process. Like in the musical world, they call it muscle memory. When you do your piano or your guitar or whatever, drums, it's a muscle memory. So at a certain point in our Krishna consciousness, we'll be able to think of Krishna constantly, which means the darkness of illusion cannot stand where there's the light of Krishna. As it said, Krishna Surya Samamaya Haya Andhakar. The Maya cannot stand. So there's another thing that Srila Prabhupada points to in the purport. Let's see, where is it? the words that he mentions, or he didn't mention the actual Sanskrit words, but it says tamoso ma jyotir gamaya. So this is from a lecture from Srila Prabhupada. There is Vedic instruction also, tamosa ma jyotir gama. Don't remain within this darkness. This material world is darkness. Therefore, there is need of light, sunlight, need of moonlight, just like now, night. What is this night? Night means this is the real appearance of this material world. It is dark. And when the sunlight will be visible, we shall think that it is daytime, but actually it is dark. But there is another nature that is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita, parastasmat tu bhavanyo, Bhagavad Gita 8:12. Another spiritual nature where there is always illumination. Jyoti means illumination. So Vedic injunctions that don't stay within this darkness or dark material world, just come to the illuminated world. So what's preventing us from doing that? There's another reference that Srila Prabhupada speaks of in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, text, chapter 30, text 4. Janturvaya bhava etasmin yam yonim anuvrajate tasyam salabhate nivrittim na virajate. The living entity in whatever species of life he appears finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, when he refers to these two aspects of Maya, Maya has two phases of activities, and that's what he referred to in the purport. So Maya has these two phases of activities. One is called pratīyeta, and the other is called avaranatmika. Avaranatmika means covering. And prashepatmika means pulling down. In any condition of life, the materialistic person or animal will be satisfied because his knowledge is covered by the influence of Maya. In the lower grade of lower species of life, the development of consciousness is so poor that one cannot understand whether he is happy or distressed. This is called avaranatmika. Even a hog who lives by eating stool finds himself happy, although a person in a higher mode of life sees that the hog is eating stool. How abominable that life is. So these two aspects, pratīyeta and avaranatmika. In another way, Prabhupada describes it in a very humorous way, that when you're trying to get out of Maya, trying to become Krishna conscious, and in one place he says it's like declaring war against Maya. So then the moment you try to get out, the moment you try to become Krishna conscious, Maya comes and tries to pull you back. We're thrown into this material world, and then we're covered. So then when we try to get uncovered, we try to become Krishna conscious, there's that Maya trying to pull us back. Now, ultimately, Maya is not our enemy. Maya is the servant of the Lord. She's more or less testing our determination. How fixed are we in Krishna consciousness? And so Maya gives these distractions. It's almost like being tested in a sporting capacity, like say football, baseball, soccer, cricket, whatever. So you go for many weeks of training. The coach gives you all kinds of obstacles. In fact, they have an obstacle course that you have to go through. And also in the military, they have these obstacle courses that you have to go through, pulling ropes, climbing walls, climbing under barbed wire fences. Why? Why is that? So that when you go into the field of battle, or when you go into the field of whatever it might be, life, you will be prepared for all these different obstacles. Kind of a small visual is like in that movie Karate Kid, the original, where Mr. Miyagi is teaching this boy, but the boy wants to learn karate. But Mr. Miyagi tells him, okay, just paint the fence up and down, up and down. And the boy gets frustrated. Why are you making me do this? I want to learn karate or kung fu, whatever. And then Mr. Miyagi throws a punch and the boy raises his hand. Then he throws another punch and the boy lowers his hand again, again, again. So now the boy realizes, oh, that's why you wanted me to go up and down. I see. So in Krishna consciousness, you begin to realize by the grace of the Lord, why these obstacles are being put before me. They're being put before me so I can practice remembering Krishna, because Krishna is saying, always remember me. Be free of the darkness. Come to the light. But that requires practice. So practice means you'll be tested. Absolutely. We'll all be tested. I remember His Holiness Jayapataka Swami said one time in Atlanta, Krishna will give you many, 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 many tests. Of course, in the case of His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj, he's gone through some very big tests. Even now, still even more tests. But Maharaj said that He'll give you so many tests, and then one day He'll give you a big test and then no more tests. And we were kind of stunned when we heard that. The possibility of a stage where there won't be any more tests. But the test may go on for your whole life. Whole life there may be tests. What is that verse? Or the Prabhupada says a very colloquial phrase or quote in India. Bhajan kara, sadhana kara, murte janli hoy. Whatever bhajan you do, whatever sadhana you do, will be tested at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tajantihi kalevaram. So all these things are leading up to death. That's the big test. That's actually a very big test. So can we remember Krishna at the time of death? When in fact, we can't even remember Krishna when we have small difficulties in life, or even big difficulties in life, big distractions in life. And I'm speaking to us as devotees. Sometimes I know for myself, and many times in the past, I would think in terms of this philosophy is for the conditioned souls, trying to help them. No, that's also true, but it's for us as well. So all these circumstances, we're all facing the same things. If we're honest, we'll have to say, yes, I get distracted most of the day. And then I pull myself back by reading Prabhupada's books. That's why it's extremely important that when you begin your day in the morning, that you begin with Krishna conscious activities. Please don't make excuses that I have to go to work, I have to get the kids ready for school. Yeah, that's true. But if you don't invest at least a few minutes in the morning before you get involved in all those activities, the chance is very high that you may be distracted throughout the day. My first temple president, His Grace Balabhadra Prabhu, he taught us many years ago. Now, this is not to say don't chant your 16 rounds. He said that if you can chant one round, absolutely, and hear every syllable, like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you can chant one round and hear every syllable, of course, you should do all your 16 rounds. One round, every syllable, he said you won't be disturbed throughout the day. And I try my best to chant and hear every syllable. Not always possible, the mind gets distracted. But that instruction, or that enlightened instruction from him, gave us a lot of hope. So then you try your best. You may not succeed every day hearing every syllable, but you try. Going back to the analogy of practice. You're not going to throw a touchdown thing every time, but you're going to practice. I've heard it said that this famous Tiger Woods, the golfer, and Michael Jordan, the basketball player, said that Michael Jordan missed more shots, throwing the ball than he successfully did or executed. But he would do it every day, hundreds of times every day, hundreds and maybe thousands of times. So that's why he became one of the most famous sports people in history. And Tiger Woods as well, playing golf constantly. So we should be constantly practicing, hearing the glories of the Lord. That practice begins early morning when you get up. Wash your face, wash your mouth. Maybe you don't go to the shower immediately, but just sit down for a few minutes and read the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or whatever you choose, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and let that light of transcendental knowledge enter into our dark consciousness. Consciousness is actually light, but we've been covered by darkness through sleep. Then we come back into our awakened state. And then we're still affected. We're still kind of out of it. As they say, you're still out of it. But what brings you back? So I was thinking of this verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's in what chapter? Chapter 10, text 11. Actually, text 10 is one of my favorite verses. Te sam satara yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam Dami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And then text 11, Te sham evanukam partam aham ajnana jam tamaḥ nashayam yatma bhavasto jnana dipena basvata. So this jnana dipa, jnana dipena, with the lamp of knowledge. So Krishna says to show them, meaning my devotees, the ones who serve me with love, to show them special mercy. I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. And just a couple of things from the purport. Prabhupada says there are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he's helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. So Krishna is just, he's just waiting to help us. All he's looking for is bhajatam pritipurvakam, serving him with love. Serving him also means thinking of him, thinking of the Lord in meditation throughout the day, chanting Hare Krishna as much as we can throughout the day. Japataka Maharaj told this funny story about one devotee in India who was very successful industrialist, and he had a big factory with many employees. So that's when Japataka Maharaj introduced this idea of using the little clicker, the little counter. So this devotee was extremely busy in his company, taking care of all the different details. So he would walk around the floor of his factory with his little clicker and chanting. And then his employees noticed it. So they asked him, "What are you doing, such and such person?" And he said, "I'm checking on you. I'm keeping a count on what you're doing." So in that way, he played a trick so that he could continue chanting throughout the day. Find a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. Where there's not much will, there are excuses, and excuses won't help. Bhajankara, sadhanakara, murti janli. All these things will be tested at the time of death and also throughout the life. But if we know the end result, it's like if I want to go somewhere, like I'm going to the Atlanta temple today, and that's my end result. I want to go see the beautiful deities, Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Gaurnitai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, and see devotees, and maybe get a little prasad. So I know where I want to go. So even if I get distracted, suppose you have a detour. Sometimes they block the road, you have a detour. But I still know where I want to go. And now we have the help of the GPS, whatever. But I know where I want to go. And I know what's there when I get there. Ecstasy. So we should know where it is we want to go. We should not become comfortable, allow ourselves to be covered by illusion, thinking that I want to become recognized as a devotee. Be careful of that one. That one's a very, very insidious. It can sneak into your consciousness. Acting in such a way that others will give you respect, that others will praise you. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verses 8 through 12, the first principle of knowledge is ātmano, meaning humility. And Prabhupada defines humility, you probably heard me say it 100 times, not being anxious for the satisfaction of being honored by others. What happens when you get into that mood? Maya covers you again. She has those two potencies. And she covers you again with darkness. That is darkness. When you want to be quote unquote respected. Someone pointed out the other day, I was giving a lecture. He says, I'm a psychologist. I have to work with people And one of the biggest issues is self-esteem. So how do we apply this principle? Well, first, let's separate self from body. What you're talking about is body esteem. You're not talking self-esteem. Body esteem, my African-American body, respect me as a Black man, respect me as a man, respect me as a senior, whatever, or female, or you're from India, whatever it might be, or from Africa. Body esteem. Self-esteem is the spirit soul. Srila Prabhupada referred to a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, text 11, 12. Natveva ham jatu nasam aham ne me janadipa. That means never was there a time that I did not exist, Krishna's pointing by himself, and then to Arjuna, and nor all the persons on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. We've all existed. We are the spirit soul. Then the next one, Dehi nosman yata dehi. The embodied soul continually passes. We are the soul. We're not the body. So what is self-esteem? Self-esteem being appreciative of your existence as a spirit soul and not being distracted by this material body. So as we practice Krishna consciousness, bhajatam priti, priti means love, practice with love, bhajatam priti, then Krishna helps us, even if we don't have much intelligence. But if we get distracted trying to enjoy any aspect of this material life, of course there is enjoyment, just like we eat prasadam. We honor prasadam. Very tasty, very wonderful. We see the beautiful deities decorated so nicely. We see our beautiful temples, so many nice things. That is enjoyment, but that's spiritual enjoyment. It should not be seen as material enjoyment. Looking at the deities with some material concept, better to look at them than not look at them, but it's better to look at them bhajatam priti, with a loving mood. That's also explained in the third canto, Pastimes of Lord Rishabdev, not Rishabdev, Kapila. So he's explaining to Devahuti how to see the deity, how to view the deity. And the Lord says, the deity is in so many beautiful forms. So one should learn how to see the deities, starting with the lotus feet of the Lord and then moving systematically up. So all those things are very helpful as we progress in Krishna consciousness. And another verse I wanted to share, which is, we say it all the time, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanan Jana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of knowledge. So that's another thing to keep in mind, that whatever we're beginning to understand is because of the mercy of, for all of us, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, for all of us. It doesn't matter if we're ISKCON Guru, GBC, Sannyasi, Temple President, old devotee, young devotee, it doesn't matter. All the eyes in ISKCON were opened by Srila Prabhupada. That is a fact. No one knew anything about pure devotional service. Some devotees had gone to India. Some devotees had practiced yoga. Some friends of Krishna had brought back harmoniums and chanted Hare Krishna in New York, but they had no idea. What is pure devotional service? Anyabhilasata shunyam jnana karmada navritam anukuyena Krishna anusilanam bhaktivedam. No gyan, no karma, none of those things can be classified as pure devotion. Pure devotion means without those things. Kick them out. So we should strive every day, every moment, to improve in the process of hearing and chanting. In the mundane world, there is a statement about selling things. And the gentleman said, selling is a transference of conviction. If you're convinced about something, you can easily sell it, just like in terms of book distribution. Devotees ask about book distribution. Well, the secret is read the book. Prabhupada used to always say, are you not reading my books? Read the books, find something that resonates with you, become convinced about it enough to want to share it with someone else with conviction. That's book distribution. Book distribution is not about some particular skill, some trick, some whatever. some new, like the devotee said, what's the line I should use on Sankirtan? I don't know what to tell you when you ask that question. My temple president, when I asked him if I could be trained by the famous book distributors, Tripurari and all these big book distributors, he said, no, go and preach. Listen to the class, go and preach. And that is the most effective way to distribute Prabhupada's books. Of course, sometimes the devotees say quantity over quality. That means get as many books out as you can because, Prabhupada said, what your 3-minute lecture will do. Give the book, give the book. So when you give the book, you just somehow insert something into the heart of the person you're talking to inspire them to read it. Like sometimes I give out books, maybe no charge. And I say, listen, I'll give you this, but you have to promise me. And I look very seriously in the person's eye. You have to promise me you're going to read it. This might just be a homeless person. Doesn't matter who it is. Promise me. And I won't let the book go until they promise me. Like sometimes they say, pinky promise. Promise me you're going to read it. And they look at me very sincerely. Yes, not Prabhu. Yes, sir, I'll read it. Then I give it to them. So we have to be convinced. That conviction also it germinates. It helps to remove the darkness of ignorance, the conviction that my ultimate goal is Krishna's lotus feet. Becoming fixed in Krishna consciousness. Increasing my remembrance of Krishna every day. But that's not going to happen by chance. Bhajatam pritipurvakam, serving with love. Krishna helps. Everything that's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, manmano bhava bhakta, all those things are there. All we have to do is remember them. How to increase that remembrance? It's like a Bhagavatam class. Bhagavatam's first canto, second chapter, verse 18. Nasta praisa bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatu tamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam. You may not like every class, and I don't even like that word like, I really like that class. I try to push that out of my mind. It's not a question of like. You're not coming here to like or to enjoy. Of course, it is enjoyable to hear the philosophy and to read. But we're coming here to be inspired by some one word that might be said in a class. Doesn't matter who gave it. One sentence, one word, one example, one thought could inspire you for the whole day. I remember once sitting in a class that my second temple president gave, Gokula Ranjana Prabhu, reading from the 5th canto. And Srila Prabhupada says, describing mundane people, they drive 2 hours to work and they drive 2 hours back. And maybe Parishad might be able to identify with this. That gave me an idea for a song. And I don't recommend that people, write songs in class, but within 2 or 3 minutes, I wrote a song that the Murari band, the group that we had in Atlanta, we did that song until a few years ago. Just by hearing one statement, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, it just clicked. That's what's going on in this world. So take advantage of these opportunities with the goal in mind. There's another concept. Begin with the end in mind. And I can say honestly, safely, that Prabhupada began with the end in mind. When he got on that boat, he knew what he wanted to do. He didn't know what he was going to face, but he knew what he wanted to do. And he would say, I have not come to your country to take something. Many people from India are coming to take something, technology, make money, whatever. Prabhupada said, I have come to give you something. And what is that something? To give you what you have forgotten, that you are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So he stayed true to that. Srila Prabhupada stayed true to that understanding, which he received from his spiritual master. Preach this philosophy in English to the English-speaking world. And that stayed in his consciousness throughout his life, to the point where it moved him to do something. That's another thing about all this knowledge we're receiving. It's meant to make us do something. Don't make the mistake of just accumulating knowledge, just accumulating verses and stories and things, and you can talk about them fluently. It's not really the goal. It should move you to do what? Surrender to Krishna. That's the ultimate goal. All of our study, all of our research, all of our whatever we do, as again that saying, bhajan kara sadhana kara, all the bhajan, all the sadhan will be tested. So this information is meant to move us to action. And I'll end with two small examples. One, I heard in Atlanta from, what's my godbrother's name? Gaur Hari. Gaur Hari was very famous also in Gita Nagari and in Philadelphia. Gaur Hari, wonderful devotee at that time. So he gave a Bhagavatam class in Atlanta. And at the end of the class, he said, now let's take all this ecstasy, all this knowledge, let's go into the streets and preach Krishna consciousness, action. And then in Delhi in 1976, I happened, by the grace of Krishna, I was on the stage sitting there with Srila Prabhupada for the whole lecture. I was so fortunate. I put a garland on him that night too. It was very special. And Prabhupada spoke in Hindi, so I don't know exactly what he was explaining. But Lokanath Maharaj, at the end of Prabhupada's lecture, he stood up and he gave a little kind of synopsis. And he said something in Hindi to explain what Prabhupada was saying in Hindi. And he said it to a man sitting in the audience. He pointed to this man. I think he asked him to stand up. He said something to him, and the man walked toward the stage. And Maharaj said, now you see, he understood. He took action. So what action are we going to take today? We only have today. We don't have tomorrow. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, let the past sleep, ne'er the future dream at all. Act with times that are with thee, and progress you shall call. So what are we going to do with today? I just told you what I'm going to do when the rain slows down a little bit. I'm going to the Atlanta temple to see the Lord. I have to see Krishna. I have to see Lord Chaitanya. I have to see Radha Krishna. So I know what I'm going to do. Once I take a little prasad, I'm out. I'm gone. So what are you going to do today? Don't have to say anything here. But what investment are you going to make today? Of course, you better chant your rounds. Even if you're behind from the day before, you better chant your rounds, okay? You better. Who am I to tell you what to do? Well, you should read today as much as you can. Someone asked me the other day about readings. Oh, it's so hard for me to read. So I asked this person, how much can you read? The person said, well, I can read half an hour. I said, do that. Don't complain about what you can't do. Do what you can do. Okay, so I'm going to stop there and see if there's any comments or questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Right. Thank you for so much advice in this one, especially towards the end. We've been talking about that one example, the last example, the person that says, well, I have difficulty reading, I can't. Then you ask him, how much can you read? He said, a half an hour, and then go for half an hour then. Then you can read.
Exactly.
Yeah, people think it's too much, it's overwhelming, and then they give up. And also, what you plan to do today, and especially when you're advising the devotees to chant. That's the most wonderful advice anyone can get. That's how you get out of the material world. You got to chant. You have to chant. Thank you. And dear devotees, this is the time to unmute yourself. I have a question. I think we start with dear Krishna Prabhu. His hand is up already, as I call it, the electronic hand. All
Hare
right.
Krishna, Prabhu.
And
Please
by the
accept
way,
my
he did a good job in your absence.
Hare
Very
Krishna,
good.
Prabhu. Please
Haribo,
accept
dear
my humble
Krishna.
wishes.
That
All
my
glories to Srila
wishes,
Prabhupada. All
Prabhupada.
glories to you. Beautiful, beautiful class, Prabhu. Very, very inspiring. And I'm inspired to request all the devotees to hear this class again. If you can't devote full 1 hour, at least go back and at least hear the last 20 minutes. Definitely, for sure.
It's on
Um,
YouTube. It's recorded on
yes.
YouTube, so go for it.
Yes.
Put Balabhadra Prabhu's name on there, put today's date, you'll get it
Haribol.
immediately.
Haribol. So,
Yeah.
Prabhu, my question is, Prabhu, you you quoted a beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Priti Purvakam Bhajatam. So, how would I know that I am serving Krishna and his devotees lovingly? Because in my mind, I can always think whatever I am doing is, that's enough, that's the best, that's in the best consciousness. So, how do I evaluate myself, not
Yes,
others, and
yes.
keep moving?
You use the correct word, evaluate. And Srila Prabhupada in 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita verses 8 through 12, in that same purport where he talks about the definition of humility, in that same paragraph at the end, he says, one should have a test. And he can use these 20 qualities that are mentioned as knowledge, beginning with humility, pridelessness. You can have a test. You want to know how you're doing. Well, have a test, and that test can come from Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigrinati, guyama gyati prichati, bhunte bojayate. So loving service, that's the loving exchange, those 6 aspects of loving exchange. And Prabhupada gives a really nice example, graphic example. He says, one businessman takes another businessman out to lunch, and over lunch, they discuss business. But he took him out to lunch. He did something. So loving service to devotees, like if I give you prasadam, I hate to put Parikshit on the spot, but he remembers when I came there on his birthday and they brought the cake. And that cake, I still can taste it in my mouth. It was so delicious. And his daughters were making sure we got cake, and he was happy for us to get cake. That's love. Love requires attention. It does. It requires paying attention. Bhajatam pritipurvakam, serving me with love. So then you say, well, how do you serve with love? Well, pay attention to what you're doing for the person. You go on the altar to serve the deities and just sort of, you know how to do it, and you just kind of and you're off. No. Serve with love, focus, attention. Why does Krishna say, man manat bhava mad bhakto? Engage your mind, think of me. He says, use your mind, think of me. So if you want to check to see if you're serving with love to a devotee, just make sure you're paying attention. And also there are different other things you can do to demonstrate love. It's like I love Parikshit Prabhu. And the whole time he was in the hospital, I was talking about him and thinking of him. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, Prabhu, but it really was. And during the class, we would think about you and pray for you. That's love.
That's why I got better so fast.
But that's love. That is true love. I feel so bad that I didn't get to see Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in his last days. It was really painful for me. It was just so painful to think about him in that condition. So I felt bad for many years, really bad, that I didn't go. Plus, I was a little sick myself. But anyway, when I finally got to go to Gita Nagari, and I didn't know where I was going to stay, but the Mataji said, Prabhu, you have to stay in Maharaj's room. I went, what? No, you have to stay in his room. You're his godbrother, you have to stay. So I stayed in his room, and I slept right next to his bed. That night, I'm telling you, it's not exaggeration, was one of the sweetest nights in my whole career in Krishna consciousness. I felt that Maharaj blessed me. I felt it. It was a very special event. Because our love between myself and Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was not because we were both African-American, had nothing to do with that. He was a brahmachari living with us in Atlanta. That's how close we were. So I remember one time he came to Atlanta with Brahmananda. They came late at night, and I made some prasadam for them, and I made these I don't know what you call them, like fruit wraps. I thought that would be enough. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was so happy. He said, no problem, I'm very happy. Brahmananda looked at me and rubbed his belly. He said, Balabhadra, I'm really hungry. Can you cook something? It's like 11 o'clock at night. So I cooked the whole feast, and he said, oh, I'm so happy, But I served them both with attention to their needs, with love. Love doesn't mean what you need, what the other person needs. So you have to think, what does it, and how do you know what they need? Like everyone knows Balabhadra, he loves cheesecake. Everyone knows that in Atlanta especially. So there are people already making their little plans for my birthday. They know what I really enjoy. In fact, I'm going to a program tomorrow evening, pre-Thanksgiving program. And the Mataji told me on Sunday, I'm making your favorites, lasagna and pumpkin pie. So like that, find out what satisfies the other devotees. Sometimes, like last night, I had to have a phone call with a nice devotee from Philadelphia. He just wanted to talk. He just wanted to share. He said, thank you, Prabhu, for listening. Thank you for listening. And listening means, what kind of listening? Attentive listening, like attentive chanting. When you're dealing with a devotee and you want to let them know you love them, if they need to talk to you, just listen. Just listen. It's so meaningful. So again, Prabhu, it's just so many aspects of your question. It's very important observation. Evaluate, constantly evaluate. How am I doing in my Krishna consciousness? How many times have I thought of Krishna today? It's not a big deal. One time I put into Chat GPT, I copied Prabhupada's lecture. I put it into Chat GPT. Tell me how many times Prabhupada said Krishna. I was shocked. In one lecture, almost 100 times. Almost 100 times. And I noticed this morning when I listened to his lecture, he just keeps talking about Krishna in different contexts. Like the frog in the well story. He tells that, then he connects to Krishna. You listen to Prabhupada's lectures very carefully and notice how many times he talks about Krishna. That means he's thinking of Krishna. So in that mood, when you're trying to improve the relations with devotees, go back to the nectar instruction, Rupa Goswami, that verse, and then you'll get great inspiration. So I didn't mean to take such a long time, but your question is glorious. And I hope my answer was.
Thank you, Prabhu. And please plan of at least a full weekend in this area, Harrisburg and Reading, and we'll assure you of the best of the lasagna and cheesecake.
Now you got me hooked. Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up question, Prakshit Prabhu?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So also you mentioned about, the urgency kind of, you indicated how urgent it is that we are keeping ourselves on the track. And we also know this verse from Bhagavatam, Ayur Harati Pumsa, that each day and night we are losing time and life. So with this short life, I see a lot of devotees, whether initiated or not initiated, they just branch out and just doing whatever suits to their comfort.
Yeah.
How can we just inspire or encourage them to just keep on track? Just there is so much Srila Prabhupada has given. We are not even to even read it, complete it. And like you said, after reading and after doing all the research, act. We are not even able to do a iota of any instruction of Srila Prabhupada in practice. Maybe if you can just say a few words about it, Prabhu, that might inspire me also.
Well, just to give you another reference on that point, because this is what I try to do in my own life and what I encourage other devotees to do. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, text 21. What is that? Yad acharati shresthat. Whatever a great man does, common men follow. Whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, the world pursues. So in dealing with devotees, you want to get them to do something. Like in this class today, and in every class I give, whether it's in the temple, like 2 weeks ago, I had to speak at the Indian consulate in Atlanta. Whenever I have to speak, and my dear friend Bhakti Tim, I see he's on the call today. He knows that we have a regular Gita study every Sunday. Whenever I'm given the opportunity to speak, I pray before. You follow? I pray for the outcome, following in the footsteps first of Sukadeva Goswami. He said in the Bhagavatam, "My Lord, be pleased to decorate my statements." And Prabhupada said on the Jaladut, "Make my words suitable for their understanding." So before I give a lecture, and especially before I have to speak with a devotee about something important, I pray for the outcome. I pray that I can say something that might provide some benefit to the person or persons that I have to speak to, because speaking is a responsibility. It is a big responsibility, especially when you're speaking about Krishna consciousness. It's a major responsibility. You could say the wrong thing and destroy a devotee's devotional life. If you don't take the time and think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, how you want to impact that person's life. So if you want to inspire devotees, first principle is be inspired yourself, of course. Be the example. So when they see your example of enthusiasm and always talking about Krishna, that's another secret. If you're always talking about Krishna, people want to say, wow, what's that Prabhu doing? He's like always talking about Krishna. It's so amazing, Like I know a lot of devotees like to hear from Amarendra Prabhu because he gives beautiful discussions and many details about Krishna consciousness. Very, very nice. I've heard many of his lectures, very sweet. So then people want to be around him, right? They want to be in his presence. Or like our dear Vishnu Godal, who I don't see today, I miss his presence. When he speaks about Krishna consciousness, Vishnu Godal is just like a fountain, a reservoir of great information. I just love it. So you become that which you want others to become. You be that always. And you are. I really appreciate your presence and your mood and your smile. You're already there. So just keep doing what you're doing. Improve on your service every day. One more little business phrase. In business, the secret to success, think like this. How can I improve upon that which I do every day? Suppose you sell clothing. Suppose you sell, I don't know what it might be. How can I improve? Customer service. So in Krishna consciousness, how can I improve my Krishna consciousness every day? Even if it's incremental, a little bit at a time, every day, every day. So then when it's time to share with someone who might be struggling, your example speaks louder than your words. Well, the way you conduct yourself is speaking so loud to others. They see it. Don't think people don't see you. They see you. Like, a devotee told me the other day, that devotee, he gets angry so quickly. That means they're seeing that devotee. That devotee is not even thinking. Others are seeing me become angry and blow up in the wrong setting. This could be a leader. It could be anything. So set the best example you possibly can. Think of your spiritual master. Think of Srila Prabhupada. How would Prabhupada act? Prabhupada pretty much led by example. He did. He would serve prasadam, clean, serve devotees, make sure they had socks, all kinds of little things he would do. And that's why devotees loved him. So devotees will love us more and more if they know that we really care. Last statement, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Keep that one in your brain. You can tell them all kinds of good stuff, but unless they know you care, and then how do I get them to know that I care? Rupa Goswami, Tadati Pratikriyanati, that verse. Thank you for the question, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments? If not, then thank you, devotees, for coming on to hear such a wonderful lecture. Now we know so much advice on what to do, improve on what we, it's a sales page, not sales page, but comment for a person who's a salesperson, how to improve. You always should improve. That's how I get to first class. Yeah, to improve. Thank you, devotees. Have a wonderful day and the rest of your week. Why don't you check out Prabhu,
Kripa Sindhu Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Happy to see you again, Pariksha. So happy to see you back.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I'm not out of the woods yet, but little by little, little by little, we'll get there. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Haribo.